Good morning, Dan and Amy. And October jobs numbers come out today, a little less than an hour. The street expectation is about 600,000 jobs created in October. So expected slowdown in terms of job growth from the last couple of months. And what are we to make of how the environment will respond to perhaps an election outcome that is protracted in terms of determination? For that, we're pleased to be joined by our friend Scott the Cow Guy Shellady, Fox Business regular. Scott, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, good morning.
The market reaction since the beginning of the week has been a bit interesting in terms of the uncertainty that is attendant to a presidential election that is not been determined. Is that just a reaction to, we're going to have divided government? Divided government is incremental government, so that's stable, so everything's fine?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what the talking heads in Wall Street will try to say. Look, gridlock does usually end up helping the market, and they're counting on the Senate staying in Republican hands for their gridlock argument. Who knows? I mean, I think that will be the case, but if it doesn't, then we're in trouble. And if you remember, 2 weeks ago, we were down 5.5% in the markets, and this week we were up 7.5%. So we've net gained too because everybody's more comfortable. Well, they're comfortable with the gridlock, but I think the real reason the market was up this week was we didn't surprise it, right? The markets hate to be surprised. And so what we gave the market was a contested election, which was one of the options on the menu. So if we suddenly serve the market something that was not on the menu and they get surprised, that they don't like that and they throw the baby out with the bathwater, but this was something that had been kind of on the cards. And so the market took it in stride. So we'll wait and see. I mean, I'm not. I think this is a little bit of sugar water. I would say that the economy definitely is growing, but at a slower rate. And if Biden does become the president, we're going to hand over an economy that is slowing down to somebody that wants to kind of try to do what he can do with his progressive ideas and taxation. And if we don't hold the Senate, this market could get ugly.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, because yesterday was every day is a different day, a different news cycle, actually every hour. But it looks like the Senate might go to the Democrats. And how is that going to affect it might be led by the Democrats. How is that going to affect the market?
That'll be bad because then, the market will see that he maybe has a chance of getting through some of his big tax cuts or tax hikes, and the progressive wave will hit us again. And that's going to take the market by surprise. The market won't like that. The market's trading on the Senate being in the Republican hands right now. That's for sure. And again, 2 weeks ago, we lost 5.5%. This week, it took a big sigh of relief, had a relief rally up 7.5%. We're off a little bit today. We'll see what these numbers come out to be, but I definitely think that you'll see that the economy is growing, but at a slower rate, and we're about to hand over a slowing economy to a guy that wants to enact $4.4 trillion in tax hikes. So this is not going to be good if the Senate flips.
As I've gotten older, Scott, and mellower, more restrained and thoughtful, one thing that has continued to quicken is my antipathy for Wall Street. I got to tell you, the Wall Street banks, maybe I have even more animus in their direction than I do for the big tech CEOs minding my life for me, and the politicians as well. Because the idea that divided government, you just said Joe Biden's going to inherit an economy that's slowing down, and divided government will ensure that things don't get too outside of the acceptable boundaries. I tell you, if it's a narrow Republican majority with the Susan Collinses and the Lisa Murkowskis of the world there, Joe Biden can still ensure that the economy moves from a slowdown to a full stoppage, if not a full reverse. And Republicans are happy to go along. And if they don't do it in the form of massive tax increases, they're happy to do it perhaps in the form of targeted tax increases, plus continuing to borrow against tomorrow to pay for yesterday. And so we're just slow walking ourselves to the same place. And I don't know why that is a happy occurrence per the Wall Street Bank's opinion on it.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I got angry. I get angry all the time, and I get frustrated because these guys are a lot younger than I am now, right? I'm an old sage compared to a lot of these kids on Wall Street, and they're deluded in their thinking. And you look where they come from; they all got trophies when they came in last place in the soccer team they played on. And when we were going into the election, they had to list what they thought were the most important things about next year's equity trading, 2021, and what that would do to the index prices. And who the president was number 4. And I thought, are you kidding me? They said number 1 was the efficacy of a vaccine. I get it. Vaccine's good. It's not a panacea by any means, if you ask me. Number 2, the trajectory of the economy going into the year. Oh, all right, I suppose. Well, we all can see what's happening. It is growing, but at a slower pace. And then number 3, an accommodative Fed, which they are going to be there, right? That's easy. That was a given. And then number 4 was the president. So I just want to sit one of them down on that chair and say, hit them in the forehead with knuckles and say, look, one of them has a $4.4 trillion tax hike plan, and the other one doesn't. The other one might be cutting taxes. Don't you think that's going to outweigh all of your other dumb reasons? But no, everybody took that story and ran with it. It doesn't matter. There's going to be free money on Wall Street. No matter who the president is, the market's going higher. Well, I got news for you. Maybe that's the case, but one is going to go a lot higher than the other. And maybe that should have been the story. But, yeah, I get frustrated all the time because, as well as you said with the big tech CEOs, too. Look, this poor president had to run against not just the Democrats, but all of his own rhinos. And then he had to run against the fake news media with CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, and the likes. And then he had to run against the NFL, the NBA, and Major League Baseball. And then he had to run against Facebook and Google. Geez. Is anybody surprised that we found ourselves here? And then on top of that, he had to run against Wall Street and tech CEOs. So I'm not surprised we're here. I'm surprised that the market's taken it so well. I think this is a little bit of sugar water. And if Joe Biden does get to be the president, and if we do lose the Senate, and even if we don't lose the Senate, this is going to wear off, and we're going to hand over a slowing economy to Joe Biden and maybe even Kamala Harris. And that is not good. I don't care who you are.
I think there's a lot of people who understand this, and then there's a lot of people who don't, which is that the Wall Street banks, the Fortune 500, the big tech CEOs, they're just part of the government class. They believe in a government-centric America. You think, big business, and they're making all this money and so on and so forth. Yeah, they're rent seekers to some extent, to varying extents. Some to a large extent. I would say big tech a little bit less so, but I would have said something that rhymes with bores. Yeah. Well, okay. Right. So, but I don't think there's an appreciation for the fact that they are proponents of big government. Wall Street banks. You think these are the radical capitalists? Some people do. Radical capitalists. They're not. They're government men and women, aren't they?
Right, and they'd like to run a candidate called status quo every time. That's it. They don't want to rock the boat. Let me keep, I'm still at the trough. Don't, leave me alone. I'm still eating. That's it. You're right. You're exactly right. That's not capitalism resides on Main Street, USA. And you know what? We're slowly but surely with these lockdowns. And the idea that a lockdown is still on the cards is turning our Main Street, USA into big box stores and chain restaurants. Mm-hmm. No more, no more Luigi's Pizza. There's going to be, it's all going to be gone because nobody can suffer through what the government is putting these people through. They have no idea.
And I'm sure you heard that Governor Pritzker is going to take us down to phase 3 or phase 2, which means health clubs will be closing, churches will be closing again, stores, department stores and things like that. And I don't think our economy can take it.
It can't take it. If we go, look, Europe's going on some national lockdowns as we speak. I have some friends in London right now that just, they're going on a national 30-day lockdown now. Mm-hmm. If the U.S. goes back on a national lockdown, I'm telling you right now, it's going to push our economy back 5 years. We're going to struggle big time because we're still on the sugar high of the last PPP round and all the unemployment checks. And if we get another stimulus check, ladies and gentlemen, there's only one stimulus that's going to get everybody back to work, and that's called open up the economy. Stop spending money. Let people make their choices of whether they want to go out of their houses, not the government. Now, I understand people want to stay safe. Fine. But if I know the risks and I'm willing to take them, why can't I go outside? Right. I don't understand that.
We need choices.
This is called tyranny. It's a tyranny.
Well, and also, too, people should know that in the UK, in Ireland, in the Netherlands, because they just went on a 2-week lockdown, they're still having school and universities. And Boris Johnson even said, I will never do that again to the children of this country. So I think people just need to be reminded that even though they're going through lockdowns, the schools are still open.
Well,
That's what we need here.
my new thing is, and I talked to Dan about this the other day, is that, look, how our government is stealing from our small businesses, right? Mm-hmm. They're asking them to pay for their liquor licenses and then shutting them down. They're asking them to pay for things they can't use. So where's the rebate coming to mom and pop that have a liquor license in the corner tap in Chicago that have had to pay for it all year, but 6 months they couldn't use it? They should get a 6-month rebate. But no, the government's going to steal from mom and pop because they have no idea what it's like to run a small business, because Pritzker just woke up one morning and all of a sudden was a billionaire.
Well, and also, too, I don't know if you know, January 4th, the restaurant tax in the city of Chicago is going to double. And I know a lot of restaurant owners that said, we're not paying it. We can't even pay the old tax, not having it double. The money's not there. So they're just going rogue.
There's going to be an uprising, and I'm surprised it's taken this long. But the restaurateurs of both New York and Chicago, they should just open up and say, you know what, come get me.
Yep.
The unemployment rate is under 8%. If these lockdown policies persist in some of the bigger states with some of the bigger economies that are governed by big government Democrats, we're going to see that go back to 12, 13, 15% like it was just a few months ago?
I think it could, because if everything's going well, if everything was really going well, for every month that we were on lockdown and we lost a bunch of jobs, it would take 3 or 4 months of regular economic growth to get that month back. So if they want to go back into the scenario that we had in March and April, these governors, they have no idea the damage the long-term damage that they're going to be doing. And just mentally speaking, Dan, who's going to reach for their dreams anymore? Who's going to take out the second mortgage and drain their 401k for their great business idea they've always wanted to do since they were a kid? When Pritzker can sit on it and destroy them with a flick of a switch.
So that
we're going to be.
It just becomes a flight to quality in terms of people's residence, right? So the trends that were happening already just continue to quicken to places away from New York, Connecticut, Illinois, California, to Texas, Tennessee, Florida, et cetera.
Yeah, it's like the video game Asteroids. COVID was the big hyperspace button. It just sent us where we were going a lot faster.
He is Scott Shellady, Scott the Cowguy Shellady, Fox Business contributor. Scott, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
All right, see you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
If you're talking about it, Dan and Amy are talking about it. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The Lou Dobbs Financial Report is brought to you by Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Visit signaturebank.bank for your commercial banking needs.
I'm Lou Dobbs. Facebook bans Stop the Steal messages from its social media platform. 500 jobs being cut at ESPN. Productivity higher than it's been in a decade. Those stories next. You've all probably heard of asbestos and know that it's dangerous. And you may also know exposure to asbestos is the only known cause of mesothelioma, a deadly cancer. People who were exposed to asbestos decades ago are being diagnosed to this day with mesothelioma. That's because it can take as many as 30 or even 50 years to develop. But did you also know there's money to pay victims of asbestos exposure from years ago? An estimated $30 billion available to help compensate victims and their families. If you or a member of your family have been diagnosed with mesothelioma, you may be able to receive some of this money without ever going to court or filing a lawsuit. Get a free legal review today. Call Sokolov Law at 800-910-1950. That's 800-910-1950. As the nation holds its breath, watching various states counting late ballots from Tuesday's election, Facebook has once again muzzled free speech for Americans who are concerned about shady election practices. A group proclaiming